Very good start off.
Arne, just to check first of all, how is Giovanni Leoni? What's the prognosis there? And on the flip side of the disappointment for him, does it also open up a place in the Champions League squad for Federico Chiesa now?
Yeah, the last thing is true. And the first thing, he's not in a good place, of course, because he tore his ACL, which means that he will be out for around a year. So, being so young, coming to a new country, playing so well in your first game, it's very hard to take the positive side. No, there's never a positive side, but yeah, you always try to look at a positive side, and that is that he's still so young, so that he has so many years still to go after he recovers from a terrible injury like that.
How much of a blow is it for you? I know you're talking about the human being there, but also squad-wise, because you face Crystal Palace this weekend, and I suppose with Mark Gay lining up in their side, there might be a sense of what might have been given what happened on transfer deadline day.
Yeah, but I don't think 2 or 3 days before, 1 day before we play them to talk about that again. He's a Crystal Palace player, and he's been very important for them as long as he's there. So we have to prepare for Crystal Palace, who are a very good team. I think they haven't lost 17 games in a row now, and he's part of that team. So difficult team to beat, but we are also a difficult team to beat, as we've shown when we played against each other, because we've beaten them once with 1-0 and twice it was a draw. And we have more than enough options to replace, if needed, a player at the centre-back position, because of course we've got Virgil, Joe and Ibu, and other options if needed.
Is Alexander Isak ready to start now, obviously thinking with no Hugo Ekitike?
Liverpool fans, stop what you're doing for just a moment, because the news I'm about to share will hit you right in the heart. Imagine making your dream debut for Liverpool Football Club, stepping out under the Anfield lights, hearing "You'll Never Walk Alone" echoing in the air, only for it to all come crashing down in a split second. That's the nightmare reality facing Giovanni Leoni, the young defender who was supposed to be Liverpool's future. But now, he's out for the season and possibly a year. In today's deep dive, we're going to break down what this means for Arne Slot's side, how it changes Liverpool's season, and why this one injury could reshape the club's defensive strategy moving forward. Before we dive in, make sure you smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you love Liverpool as much as we do, and drop a comment below. Can the Reds survive this defensive crisis, or are reinforcements absolutely essential in January? The injury that changed everything. A chilly midweek evening, Liverpool were celebrating progression in the Carabao Cup after a hard-fought victory over Southampton. The atmosphere was light, fans were buzzing, and the focus was beginning to shift to the weekend's Premier League clash with Crystal Palace. But then, in the final stages of that match, disaster struck. Giovanni Leoni, the young Italian defender freshly signed from Parma in the summer, pulled up awkwardly. At first, it looked like a knock, maybe something he could shake off. But moments later, the grim expressions on the medical team told a different story. Leoni had suffered a serious knee injury, and whispers immediately suggested an ACL tear, one of the worst injuries a footballer can endure. Fast forward to Friday's press conference, and Liverpool manager Arne Slot confirmed the devastating news. He is not in a good place. Of course, because he tore his ACL, he will be out for around a year. A year. That sentence alone was enough to silence a room full of journalists, and it sent shockwaves through the Liverpool fan base. The emotional toll on Leoni? Let's put ourselves in Giovanni Leoni's shoes for a second. You're 20 years old? You've just moved to England, leaving behind everything you know in Italy. You join one of the biggest football clubs in the world, Liverpool FC, for a fee that speaks to your potential. You work your socks off in training, impress the coaching staff, and finally get your debut in front of a roaring Anfield crowd. It should be the happiest night of your young career. Instead, it turns into a nightmare. Slot himself acknowledged just how cruel this was, being so young, coming to a new country, playing so well in your first game. It is very hard to take a positive. There is no positive, but he is still so young, he has so many years to go after he recovers from a terrible injury like that. And he's right. ACL injuries are brutal, but modern medicine has helped countless players come back stronger. Still, the mental challenge is enormous. Leoni himself posted on Instagram, thanking fans for their support and promising he'd give everything to come back. It wasn't the debut I had always dreamed of, but I will give everything to be back playing in this magical stadium as soon as possible. That word, magical, says everything about how much Anfield already meant to him. And now he's facing a year away from the game, Liverpool's defensive crisis. So what does this mean for Liverpool? Let's break it down. With Leoni gone, the Reds are left with just 3 recognized senior center backs: Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konaté, and Joe Gomez. That's it. 3 names to carry Liverpool through the Premier League, domestic cups, and the Champions League. On paper, that sounds like enough, but Liverpool fans know better. Injuries happen. Suspensions happen. Fixture congestion takes its toll. And with Liverpool expected to challenge for major honours this season, the margin for error just got razor thin. Slot has suggested that Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch can fill in at centre-back if needed. But let's be real, that's far from ideal. Endo is a defensive midfielder, and Gravenberch is best used further forward. They can plug gaps in an emergency, sure, but in the Champions League knockout stages or a title race, that's asking too much. And here's the kicker. Liverpool are about to face Mark Guehi this weekend, the same player they tried and failed to sign on deadline day. Talk about cruel irony. Now, I've got to pause here because I want to hear from you. Should Liverpool go back in for Mark Guehi in January, or should they trust the likes of Gomez and Konaté to stay fit? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them all. And don't forget, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a Liverpool update like this one. Who is Giovanni Leoni? To really understand the weight of this injury, let's rewind a bit. Giovanni Leoni isn't just some squad player. He's one of Italy's brightest young defenders, plucked from Parma after impressing scouts with his composure, physicality, and leadership despite his age. At Parma, he was considered a prodigy, the kind of player who could anchor a defense for a decade. Liverpool moved quickly to secure his signature, seeing him as the perfect understudy and eventual successor to Virgil van Dijk. He had all the tools: aerial dominance, tactical awareness, and a calmness on the ball that made him look older than his years. When he finally stepped onto the pitch against Southampton, fans got a glimpse of why the club was so excited about him. Strong in the tackle, intelligent with his positioning, and confident in possession, Leoni looked like he belonged. That's what makes this setback so gut-wrenching. Just as Liverpool found a gem, fate intervened. The history of ACL injuries at Liverpool. Unfortunately, Leoni's story isn't unique. Liverpool fans have seen this before. Remember Virgil van Dijk's own ACL tear after that infamous clash with Jordan Pickford in the Merseyside derby? That injury sidelined the Dutchman for nearly a year, and Liverpool's entire title defence crumbled. The team barely scraped into the top 4. Then there's Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who lost prime years of his career to knee injuries. Even players like Joe Gomez have had stop-start careers because of repeated setbacks. At Liverpool, knee injuries seem to strike far too often, and the scars still linger in the minds of supporters. That's why this news about Leoni feels doubly painful. Fans know how much it can derail a season. They've lived it. And now they're left asking, is history about to repeat itself? Slot's response, in the bigger picture, Arne Slot deserves credit here. The Dutchman didn't sugarcoat the situation. He was honest, empathetic, and realistic. He didn't try to spin it into a positive, because there isn't one. Instead, he focused on supporting the player and reminding fans that Leoni still has his entire career ahead of him. But at the same time, Slot has to think pragmatically. He knows he's walking into the Crystal Palace game with a thinner squad than he would like. He knows that if Van Dijk or Konaté were to pick up an injury, the pressure on Joe Gomez would be immense. He knows January might force Liverpool into the transfer market, whether the club wants to or not. And this is where I need you, Liverpool family. Do you think Klopp's old approach of we don't buy unless we really need to should continue under Slot? Or is this the moment where the board must act aggressively in January? Hit the like button if you think we need signings, and drop a comment if you believe the current squad can cope. What comes next? For Giovanni Leoni, the road is long. ACL recovery typically takes 9-12 months, and even then, players often need extra time to regain sharpness. The good news? He's only 20. His body can recover. His mind, with the right support, can come back stronger. For Liverpool, it's about adaptation. Slot has to manage minutes carefully, rotate where possible, and maybe even adjust tactics to protect his defense. It's also about belief. Injuries happen, but champions adapt. And as for the fans, they'll rally. They always do. Anfield thrives on adversity. You'll Never Walk Alone isn't just a song, it's a promise. And you can bet Giovanni Leoni will feel that support every step of the way. All right, Liverpool fans, part 1 was heavy. Giovanni Leoni's injury rocked us all. But if you thought that was the end of Liverpool's problems this week, think again. Because in the very same Carabao Cup clash that gave us heartbreak, another storyline erupted. Hugo Ekitike, the young striker who was supposed to be Liverpool's new attacking spark, made a rash mistake. A mistake that got him sent off. A mistake that left his teammates fuming. And a mistake that had fans asking, should he face a fine? Should he be punished more severely? Well, Arne Slot has now spoken, and his answer shocked almost everyone. Stick around, because we're about to dive deep into the Ekitike red card saga, the fallout in the dressing room, and why Slot's decision might just redefine Liverpool's culture. Before we break it down, smash that like button, subscribe if you bleed red, And comment below, do you think Slot was right not to fine Ekitike? On the red card incident, let's rewind to Tuesday night. Liverpool are battling Southampton in the Carabao Cup, pushing hard to secure a place in the next round. Things are tense. Every goal matters. Then, Hugo Ekitike, eager to make an impression, finds the back of the net. Anfield erupts, but then disaster. Already on a yellow card, Ekitike celebrates by ripping off his shirt. The referee has no choice. Out comes the second yellow. Out comes the red card. Liverpool are down to 10 men. If that wasn't bad enough, rewind just a few minutes earlier. Ekitike's first yellow wasn't exactly smart either. He punched the ball away in frustration after a contentious decision. 2 unnecessary bookings. 1 dismissal. And now a suspension. For a player trying to win hearts and prove himself in a Liverpool shirt, it was the worst possible way to leave the pitch. Dressing room. Fallout reports soon emerged that the atmosphere in the dressing room after the match wasn't pretty. Teammates were furious. Senior players like Andy Robertson were quick to show their displeasure. Arne Slot himself, still fresh from the chaos of the match, didn't hold back in his press conference. He called the incident not smart and made it clear that Ekitike had let the team down. Fans on social media were just as harsh. Comments ranged from frustration, he's supposed to be a professional, to sympathy. He's young, he'll learn. But the general feeling was clear. This wasn't acceptable. And that set the stage for the big question. What would Liverpool do about it? Pause right there. If you were Arne Slot, what would you do? Fine the player 2 weeks' wages to set an example? Or forgive him as a learning moment? Drop your verdict in the comments. I want to know if you go tough or go compassionate. Slot cools. The flames by Friday. Emotions had cooled. Slot was asked directly in his press conference. Is Hugo Ekitike being fined? And here's where the story takes a surprising turn. No, Slot said. Discipline means a fine, and he didn't get that. It wasn't very smart what he did, but he recognized it himself immediately. He said sorry straight away to his teammates. He's young, players of all ages make mistakes, and that's what he did in this situation. You're allowed at this club to make a mistake without immediately getting fines. Let's stop there for a moment. That's a powerful statement. Slot could have taken the easy route. Fine the player, show the fans you're tough on discipline, move on. Instead, he chose empathy. He chose to back his player publicly, while still acknowledging the mistake. That balance is not easy to strike. Culture shift at Liverpool? This raises a fascinating question. Is Arne Slot quietly reshaping Liverpool's culture? Under Jurgen Klopp, discipline was strict, but always wrapped in an arm-around-the-shoulder style of man management. Klopp believed in trust, in second chances, in keeping the family spirit alive. Slot seems to be following a similar philosophy, but adding his own twist. By not finding Ekitike, he's sending a message. I trust you. I believe you'll learn from this without me having to punish you. And for a young player trying to build confidence, that could be huge. Instead of breaking him down, Slot is giving him space to grow. But of course, it's a gamble. Critics will say this sets a dangerous precedent. If one player can escape punishment, what stops others from making reckless decisions? Will this leniency come back to haunt Liverpool later? Here's a big one for you guys. Is Slot too soft, or is this the kind of player-first leadership Liverpool needs right now? Comment below, and while you're at it, smash the like button if you believe trust goes further than punishment. Who is Hugo Ekitike? For those who may not know much about him, let's rewind a bit. Hugo Ekitike is a young French striker who made waves at Reims before moving to Paris Saint-Germain. At PSG, he struggled for minutes, competing with the likes of Mbappé, Messi, and Neymar. But his talent was undeniable. Tall, quick, skillful, with an eye for goal, he was seen as one of France's brightest young forwards. Liverpool took a gamble on him, believing that under Slot's system he could rediscover his best form. And to be fair, he started well. His movement, his pressing, and his ability to link play drew early praise. But with one rash decision in the Carabao Cup, all of that early goodwill was put under threat. Opportunity for others, Ekitike's suspension, means Liverpool have to look at other options. And this is where things get interesting. Slot hinted that Alexander Isak, the Swedish forward, is ready to step up. He might not yet be fit enough for 90 minutes, but 60 to 70 minutes of Isak is still a game changer. Behind him, Federico Chiesa is also pushing hard for more minutes. The Italian has already impressed fans this season, bringing flair and energy every time he's called upon. And let's not forget Jadon Danns, the academy striker who looked electric in his cameo against Southampton. In other words, Ekitike's absence opens the door for others. And in football, opportunities like this can change careers. The right call? So, was Slot right not to find Ekitike? Let's weigh it up. On one hand, discipline is important. Teams need standards. Liverpool aren't a club that tolerates unprofessional behavior. A fine would have been a simple way to reinforce that. On the other hand, fines can sometimes backfire. They can create resentment, make young players nervous, and damage trust. Slot's decision to forgive, to emphasize learning over punishment, shows a belief in long-term growth rather than short-term optics. And let's be honest, Ekitike's apology seemed genuine. He didn't sulk. He didn't make excuses. He immediately said sorry to his teammates and owned up to his mistake. That humility counts for a lot. Liverpool family, this is where I throw it over to you. If you were in Slot's shoes, what would you value more? Strict discipline or trust and forgiveness? Drop your take below, and remember, stay tuned, because in part 3, we'll explore how all these issues, Leoni's injury, Ekitike's suspension, and squad depth, collide in Liverpool's upcoming battles, especially against Crystal Palace. Lessons learned for Ekitike, this is a moment that could define him. If he learns from it, if he bounces back stronger, fans will eventually forget this red card and remember his goals. But if he keeps making rash decisions, patience will run out quickly. For Slot, this is about consistency. He's shown compassion here, but he'll need to ensure standards remain high. The balance between discipline and trust is delicate, and the entire squad will be watching how he handles future incidents. For Liverpool as a whole, it's a reminder of how fragile momentum can be. One injury, one red card, one slip in concentration, and everything changes. So there you have it. Hugo Ekitike's red card, the fallout, and Arne Slot's surprising decision to let him off without a fine. Was it the right call? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Liverpool's season is hanging on fine margins, and the real test is just beginning. Up next in part 3, we'll bring it all together. The injuries, the suspensions, the squad depth, and look ahead to Liverpool's clash with Crystal Palace, the Marc Guéhi irony, and what this all means for the Reds' title challenge. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you won't want to miss how this story unfolds. Liverpool fans, if you've been with us through parts 1 and 2, you already know the storm that's brewing at Anfield. A young defender's season-ending ACL injury, a striker's reckless red card, and a manager's bold choices. But now, in part 3, we're looking at the bigger picture. How do these setbacks affect Liverpool's season? What does it mean for the Premier League race, the Champions League, and the January transfer window? And with Crystal Palace up next, could irony strike as Liverpool face the defender they desperately tried to sign, Marc Guéhi? Stick around, because this final chapter will connect all the dots, and by the end, you'll know exactly where Liverpool stand in their pursuit of glory. Before we dive in, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and tell me in the comments, can this Liverpool side still go all the way, or are these setbacks too much to overcome? From one setback to another, we started this week with heartbreak, Giovanni Leoni's ACL tear. A moment that shattered the dreams of a 20-year-old defender and forced Arne Slot to rethink his defensive plans. We then added drama, Hugo Ekitike's reckless red card and the fiery fallout. And now, we face the consequences, because football doesn't wait. The Premier League keeps moving, the Champions League keeps coming, and Liverpool don't have time to stop and feel sorry for themselves. Every setback demands a solution. Every gap in the squad demands a new plan. The Crystal Palace clash up next, Crystal Palace. A team that's not only in good form, but also carrying a cruel twist of fate for Liverpool fans. Because leading that defense is Marc Guéhi, the man Liverpool tried and failed to sign on deadline day. Imagine it. Guéhi in Palace colours, walking out at Selhurst Park against the very team that wanted him to wear red. Arne Slot was asked about Guéhi in his press conference, and he didn't take the bait. He refused to dwell on what might have been. But for fans, the frustration lingers. How different would things look right now if Guéhi had been wearing a Liverpool shirt? Would Leoni's injury sting less if there was already another young defender in the squad? And let's not underestimate Palace themselves. They're on a strong run, unbeaten in 17 games, resilient, hard to break down. This isn't a team Liverpool can afford to take lightly. With Leoni out and Ekitike suspended, Slot will need every ounce of tactical sharpness to get through this test. Quick one for you guys. Should Liverpool go back in for Guéhi in January, or should the club look at other options like Gonçalo Inácio or Antonio Silva? Comment your dream defensive signing below, and don't forget to hit the like button if you believe reinforcements are non-negotiable. The transfer question. This brings us to the elephant in the room, the January transfer window. Normally, Liverpool aren't big spenders in January. The club's philosophy has always been about smart, long-term moves, not panic buys. But history shows us exceptions. Think of Virgil van Dijk arriving in January 2018. That wasn't panic, it was precision. It was necessity. And now with Leoni gone for the season, Liverpool are in a familiar position. Do they trust what they have? Van Dijk, Konaté, Gomez, plus emergency options like Endo? Or do they dip into the market? Names are already being thrown around. Marc Guéhi, of course. Benfica's Antonio Silva, one of Europe's hottest defensive prospects. Sporting CP's Gonçalo Inácio, another highly rated talent. Even talk of Matthijs de Ligt being unsettled at Bayern has popped up. Slot has played it cool in public, insisting he has more than enough options. But the truth is, A long season with 3 defenders is risky. And Liverpool fans know all too well what happened the last time the club gambled on defensive depth, the 2020-21 season, when injuries ripped through the back line and forced Klopp to play Jordan Henderson and Fabinho as makeshift centre-backs. Nobody wants to relive that. Slot's tactical balancing act beyond transfers. Slot has immediate challenges. How does he set up Liverpool without Ekitike and Leoni? At the back, it's likely Van Dijk and Konaté form the core, with Gomez rotating in when needed. But Gomez's versatility, his ability to play right back, adds another layer of complexity. Do you risk him at full back if Trent Alexander-Arnold needs rest? Or do you keep him central to preserve stability? In attack, Ekitike's suspension means Alexander Isak will likely lead the line, supported by Chiesa or even Darwin Nunez, depending on fitness. Federico Chiesa has been lively, sharp, and hungry. Jadon Danns, the academy striker, is another intriguing option. Slot's challenge is making sure the attack doesn't lose momentum just as the season begins to heat up. Liverpool family, let's debate this one. Who should lead the line while Ekitike is suspended? Isak, Chiesa, Nunez, or a wildcard like Danns? Drop your vote in the comments and let's see who the fan base trusts most. History repeats? If you zoom out, this moment feels eerily familiar. Think back to Klopp's reign. Injuries to Van Dijk, Gomez, and Matip in the same season forced Liverpool into crisis mode. In January 2021, the club scrambled to sign Ben Davies and Ozan Kabak, stopgaps that never truly worked out. The lesson from that season? Don't wait too long to act. Leoni's injury may only be one player, but the margins are thin. One more injury, one suspension, and Liverpool could find themselves in the exact same situation as 2021. The board, Slot, and the fans all know it. That's why January feels less like an option and more like a necessity. Fan reactions and resilience. What's remarkable, though, is how Liverpool fans always rally in moments like this. Social media has been flooded with messages of support for Giovanni Leoni. Fans reminding him that "you'll never walk alone" isn't just a motto, it's a lifeline. Young players often talk about how the Anfield crowd lifts them, and Leoni will need that energy now more than ever. As for Ekitike, the reactions have been mixed. Some critical, some forgiving. But even there, fans understand growth. Liverpool's history is full of players who stumbled early, only to become legends later. Discipline matters, but so does patience. And in the stands, the message is clear. No matter the setback, Liverpool keep moving. The roar at Selhurst Park will be deafening as fans push the team through yet another test of character. Bigger picture? Title? Race in Europe. So how does all of this affect Liverpool's bigger ambitions? Let's be brutally honest. Injuries and suspensions like these test champions. Every title-winning team faces adversity. The question is whether you bend or break. The Premier League race is wide open this season. Manchester City remains strong, Arsenal are pushing hard, and Chelsea are quietly rebuilding momentum. Liverpool don't have room to slip. Every point matters. And in Europe, the Champions League knockout rounds demand depth, focus, and resilience. Losing Leoni hurts. Losing Ekitike, even for one game, matters. But the true measure of Liverpool will be how they respond. Slot's men have already shown resilience in grinding out results. That resilience will now be tested to the limit. So here's where I turn it back to you. Do you believe this Liverpool squad has what it takes to survive these setbacks and still lift silverware this season? Comment yes if you're backing the Reds to fight through, or no if you think January reinforcements are absolutely essential. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button, because this season's journey is only getting started, and we'll be here every step of the way. From Giovanni Leoni's devastating ACL injury, to Hugo Ekitike's reckless red card and Arne Slot's surprising response, to the looming Crystal Palace clash and the January transfer window, Liverpool are standing at a crossroads. This season could go either way. Collapse under the pressure or rise stronger fueled by adversity. If there's one thing history tells us about this club, it's that Liverpool don't back down. They adapt. They endure. They fight. And as long as Anfield stands united, as long as the cop roars, and as long as the players believe, there's always hope. Because at Liverpool, hope is more than just a word. It's a way of life. And whatever comes next, one thing remains true. You'll never